everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us, hanging out for some craft beer and conversation. This is an exciting episode for us, guys. This is an exciting episode for us. This is our 500th episode of Beer Guys Radio. So little over 10 years of doing this, having a good time. I had someone mention earlier, we were talking stouts earlier with some people that drink beer but aren't necessarily beer people. And someone said, isn't it a bit hot out for a stout? So I had to throw out stouts are for summer, which, of course, we did an episode with Jason Pellet many, many years ago, Orpheus Brewing, talking about stouts are for summer. But 10 years and 500 episodes of Beer Guys Radio. So good stuff,
Fantastic.
Guys. Good stuff. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how's it going?
I'm good. It's been a crazy busy week, but we're here at Wednesday already. The nice thing about being super busy is the time just flies by, but also the bad thing about being super busy is the time flies by. And the older you get, the less desirable that is. But yes, I'm having a beer now, and I'm looking at a much closer weekend coming up. So that's good.
You remember being like in elementary school and that 6-hour school day or whatever, take like 30 minutes was 3 hours away. It was just crazy.
If you were waiting for any kind of a holiday or whatever, I'm like, oh, how many days? Christmas is never going to get here, you know?
Yeah. And we were just talking the other day how we were talking about something that was like 20 years ago. And it's like, was that really 20 years ago? So the older you get, the longer those years fly by.
It's scary what year is 20 years ago right now.
We're still in the 2000s. We're still in the 2000s. Yeah. That's I've seen videos go around where they're just talking to random people, and they'll say, so-and-so, what year were you born in? And if they say 2000 something, they just move on. But they're like, if they start with saying 19, then they take that person and do like churning butter on an old farm or driving a train or something. That's if there was a 19 in front of there. I think all of us are 19. Nate, you're 19. You're a late 1900s baby as well, huh?
1989. Yep, definitely.
All of us born in the 1900s.
Yeah,
crazy stuff. Nate, I don't think we've asked you yet how you are doing. So how are you doing this week?
I'm doing well. I share the sentiment with Brian that it's Wednesday. It already kind of feels like Wednesday. The week's kind of flying by. So happy to be here and talk some beer with you boys.
Good stuff. Awesome. Well, guys, we got a good show for you. Lots of info to share. And Brian, beers of the week.
Before we get ahead, Tim, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Yeah, I have nothing to. I had an interesting situation at work today that somebody got extremely bothered by a very small change. And sometimes you deal with that stuff, but it was one of those. I didn't get upset. I was just like, well, that was weird.
Yes.
So, I was like, okay, well, that was an odd reaction to that, but it happens. Brian, beers of the week. What you getting into?
So I pre-gamed with something very interesting. Hams with a lemon. Have you ever heard of this, Tim?
I have. I have indeed. Yeah.
Have you tried it before?
No, I don't see the need. So.
It's kind of an interesting thing. So I like hams, but apparently this is something I found on social media that's a kind of a niche Minnesota, Wisconsin type of gag, a joke but some people actually like it. And I thought, that's so ridiculous. I mean, I've got to try it. So a shout out to Duluth's famous Kaylee on Twitter, AKA X. I think it's Kaylee Fabulous or something is the actual handle. I don't know. You can find her out there if you're looking. But the whole idea is you put a slice of lemon under the little pull tab on top of a hams. You crush it. It runs some lemon juice into the hams while you drink it, and you're smelling lemons while you drink the ham. It's actually pretty pleasant. I like hams already, but this is fun. It's dumb. But it's fun. So
I appreciate that you are trying to live an adventurous life with doing things like putting a lemon in a beer.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're worried about the sanitary nature of the tops of a beer can, I usually rinse mine off just to get dust or whatever, because there's frequently like a dead gnat or something on it. But you got all that acid, that's going to clear it off. So you don't have to even worry about that. So no matter what they're doing when they're importing this beer from wherever they're importing it, whoever's relieving themselves on it, it's clean because you've covered it with the lemon juice. Anyway, moving on to better things. I'm currently drinking a collaboration between WeldWorks and Fidden's Brewing Company called Juicy Axe, which is a New England double IPA with Citra, Mosaic, Galaxy, and Eldorado hops. It's very nice. It's very juicy, as you might expect. And later on, probably with the Patreon folks after the show, I will be getting into Pipeworks Emerald Grouper, which is an Imperial India Pale Ale with honey. So, yeah, I'm going on. Fair amount of IPAs, a lot of citrus like leaning type of stuff in my drinks today.
Citrus is good. Good.
Yeah, it's fresh. I don't want scurvy.
That's right. Helps you avoid the scurvy. Yeah. Nate, what you getting into this week?
To round out the beers of the week from what Brian has, I'm going on the lighter side of things. Dos Equis I saw in my local shop had their lime and salt lager back in stock, and that's one of my favorite beers. So grab myself a fresh 6-pack of that, and I've got it in my glass currently.
Wait, is that citrus and beer?
It shockingly is. I heard it's actually
literally
great
never heard of that before.
I heard it's great on cutting down on the scurvy.
Yeah, yes, it is.
And then on deck, I've got from Guinness. I just got their Draught, their dry Irish stout. So
all right, yeah, can't argue with that. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome. All right, guys, moving right along. We're going to jump into some info on the BJCP guidelines. Looks like we've got some new information there. So what's going on in the world of the BJCP?
Yeah, so this is just a beer style spotlight of the week, of the month kind of thing. So from the American Pale Ale, I just wanted to share a little bit about what goes into the judging guidelines for that. So American Pale Ale, it's a pale, refreshing, and hoppy beer, yet it's got a sufficient supporting malt that brings a balance and makes it drinkable. And it features classic or modern American hops. And then it on the appearance side, it is going to be pale golden to a light amber with an off-white head with good retention. And generally it is clear, although when dry hopped, it may be slightly hazy. On the flavor side, it's going to be a moderate to high hop flavor, low to moderate grainy, clean malt character, according to the hop presentation. It's going to be, the balance is going to be typically towards light hops and bitterness. And then the malt presence should be supporting and not distracting. On the mouthfeel, it's going to be a medium light to medium body, moderate to high carbonation, and an overall smooth finish. Typical ingredients are going to be the pale malt, normally a North American two-row, American or New World hops, American or English ale yeast, and then specialty grains may be added, but will generally make up a minority of the recipe. And then some of the typical commercial examples of an American Pale Ale are Sierra Nevada Pale, Stone Pale, Firestone Walker Pale 31, and Ballast Point's Brunion Pale Ale.
Good deal. Thank you so much for that information. Some cool headlines, Brian. Some cool news going on this week. Mitch Steele, who, for those that don't know Mitch Steele, Mitch, I think most famously was with Stone Brewing. You know, a lot of people know him from Stone. He was with AB InBev many years before that. Stone Brewing, when he left Stone, he actually came here to Atlanta and was a co-founder of New Realm Brewing. So, and that was kind of a big point of change for Georgia. They were the first brewery in the state where we could actually sell food at our breweries. That was a big thing here when we had the laws changed. So they came into the state. And to be honest, them coming to the state was probably a big push in the business world to help us get that law changed, was to bring them here. So, but Mitch is, the last I heard, Mitch was still an advisor to New Realm, but he left, the full-time position there. I don't know if that advisor role still applies now, but he's landed in a new position with a brewery that most people probably know, Brian. So where is Mr. Mitch Steele headed?
Yeah, you're right. And I actually don't know if the advisory role is still in place or not, or will be ending after this. But he went into that back in September. Abita has hired him to be their new director of brewing operations and to help them navigate a massive production boom on their part. And like you said, he put Stone Brewing on the map in the 2000s. You left out that he wrote the book on brewing IPAs, which is that's not an exaggeration. It's a much loved book on brewing IPAs. And yeah, his experience with Anheuser-Busch, the big guys, is definitely a positive here. They want his mix of like craft sensibilities and his big brewery discipline to help them out at this stage. But he will, as the director of brewing operations, they are specifically tasking him with evolving Abita's core beer lineup while supporting new styles and limited releases that reflect changing consumer preferences. And that's according to the press release. And so there is more news about Abita. Should I just roll right into the
Go
news?
right on.
Yeah.
Just keep on rolling, Brian.
That's kind of the big thing. It's leading into this. Abita is aiming to hit 170,000 barrels of production in 2026, which is nearly double what they produced last year. And it will be their highest output since their glory days of 2014, which is crazy to think about in 2026. A significant percentage of this explosive growth won't be coming from their own beer. The plan is for it to come from co-packing and contract brewing and manufacturing business, where they're just making basically drinks of all kinds for other people. To this end, Abita has dropped over $6 million to upgrade their packaging and infrastructure, boosting their total capacity by a whopping 40%. They're also doing a little rebranding. After 40 years, they're changing the name of their parent company to Abita Beverage Group, to show that they are going to now be doing more than just beer. So they are a beverage group. That's the thing now. The new umbrella company will cover everything: Abita Brewing, Abita Distilling, and a massive division that handles production for other brands. And accordingly, they are diving headfirst into RTD, or ready-to-drink cocktails, with a new line called Upbeat Vodka Cocktails, which will feature things like cranberry and lime and tonic cocktails. As part of this launch, Upbeat Vodka Cocktails will serve as the official vodka-based RTD sponsor for the French Quarter Festival, which is happening from April 16th to the 19th. The president of Abita, Troy Ashley, says they are looking to partner with, invest in, or even buy other brands, basically saying nothing is off the table here. They are specifically looking for partners producing between 5,000 and 20,000 barrels, positioning themselves as the perfect scaler for emerging brands. And all of this sounds to me like Abita saw what Tilray is doing, and they're like, we could do that. Why don't we just do that? So this is pretty interesting.
I'm sure there's a lot of strategy going into this planning, Brian, and that. But, man, it's just, it seems like a tough move these days. Now I know they've got the vodka cocktails and all that stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
The RTDs, but just in general, as we know, people are just not drinking as much all around, whether that's RTDs or what have you there. The co-packing may do some. And I mean, I guess there's got to be some people that do really well and expand and all that. But interesting choice. I'm sure that they obviously have big plans and see what they can do with it.
Yeah, for every Tilray out there that seems to be making things work, at least they keep growing, so that I don't know if it looks like things are working. We've seen a few of these things not pan out, so it's interesting.
Most of them, to be quite honest with you,
and people keep trying it, and a part of me is like, well, cool, but man, is this the right choice? Is Abita making a good call here? I don't actually know. They've been around a long time, and they dropped $6 million, into upgrading their packaging and their operations. I don't think, I feel like they probably, and I don't know this for a fact, they may not have had to go into debt for that, so they may not be on the tab for a great deal of paying that back. A lot of risk there, so this might not be a risky move for them, but still, it's a big outlay of money to do beer and beverage stuff in 2026. But if they're doing RTD stuff, that's growing these days, so it's possible that they kind of take off based on the strength of RTD, and that just helps support what they do with beer.
Right.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I really don't
know. We know the surface level of beer business, of course, from talking to so many people, have not got into the nitty gritty of any of it there. So, I'm sure that if they've thought about it and they're doing this, but that they think it's going to work. But Tilray, like, we keep seeing the news on that, and I know they're growing and I know they're buying and all that. But we've also, seen the growing too fast, and we see, what happens with that. You've got a brand like, oh man, they just bought BrewDog, that we've talked about all the time. I mean, and BrewDog at one time was this huge operation. I don't know. Is Tilray doing anything big or any growth with any of the brands that they're acquiring? Have you seen that that you're aware of?
I want to say that they had a quarter where things were looking positive for them recently. I know they had problems with their share price being low. They got out of that. They bought a bunch of stuff.
Like their share price was so low, they were in risk of getting delisted.
Going to be delisted. They did a reverse split. So they make their shares, 2 shares into 1. I think that's how that works. And to double the price, and they got out of that. But that's before they bought a bunch of other stuff. And I want to say, and I didn't grab it because we've had so much Tilray news recently. Yeah. They had a quarter that was actually looking pretty positive. So they might be on track to do okay. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, and I'm definitely not offering anybody any kind of investment advice because I think you can buy their stock. Well, obviously you can because we just talked about it being delisted. So I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay. Well, interesting. As always, man, when this kind of stuff happens, we are very curious to see, where it goes there. So definitely like to see what happens with it, man. See what Abita can do. They're not as popular outside of their backyard as they once were, but Abita was big stuff at one time, especially down here in the South. That it was what you could get, and there was a time when I lived in Mississippi, so right there in Louisiana, that was big. We've got a po' boy shop here, the po' boy shop in Atlanta, that of course features their beer and such. So let's see what they can do.
I'm really excited to see, and I love this about when Mitch Steele first went to New Realm. Right out of the gates, and I still have the bottle. I shouldn't because it's a triple IPA. But one of the first things he did, large format triple IPA. Like Radagast or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And I had it. It was great. I'm like, oh, if he's doing this is awesome. Like we're going to have all this fresh, locally produced, old school Stone era IPAs. Fantastic. And I don't know that I don't think that they ever really, put him to good use.
Here's another thought I have, Brian. They didn't come out with a bang. So they did that big beer for their, for their launch. And they did that. But a lot of the beers they actually put into production were honestly just okay. They were just okay.
Yeah.
That set the stage for how beer people felt about New Realm for the entire time they've been in Atlanta. So, you had Mitch Steele come to Atlanta from Stone Brewing. Everybody loved him at Stone, loved what he did there. And those were the expectations that were set from beer nerds for what New Realm would do. And out of the gate, at least, I don't think they delivered on that. But, then you got into it, and there was a lot of stuff they did, like their Oaxaca Chaca Stout is fantastic.
Love that.
And, beers like Mexican Cake from Westbrook get a lot of hype, and others of that style. What was the one at, Chocoveza?
Oh, Chocoveza. Yeah, he probably had a hand in that too, I'm guessing, because that's been around a while.
And those got a lot of press, but really Oaxaca Chaca comes out and no one says anything other than like me, you, and 3 other guys who are like, hey, that's really good. So, I just don't think people paid attention to him after that initial blast.
True. Yeah. No, I think people, they kind of wrote him off and didn't really give him a fair shake. And honestly, I may have been a little bit guilty of the same because they weren't a huge priority, but Oaxaca Chaca was good. I was going to say, how long before Abita has a Oaxaca Chaca or a Chocoveza or something like that?
We'll see what goes on.
We'll see if that shows up.
Do they now? I'll be honest, I don't know their lineup that well.
I don't think so. They've got the Amber, they got Andy Gator, they got Purple Haze. I'm like, all their core beers are like good old fashions quality, like beers that you probably would have enjoyed in the 90s. And I don't hate any of them. Their Amber is fantastic. I love drinking it whenever I can see it. I don't think they have anything quite like that. So I don't know if I've ever seen them do anything like hazy or crazy like that. Just nothing,
Hazy and crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. Man, Brian, moving on here. Firestone Walker is taking over Trumer Pils U.S. production. So more news, and as far as we've seen a lot of this lately, the Copacking, co-branding, taking over production of that, and now Firestone Walker's getting in the game.
Yeah, this one's a kind of an interesting story because everything about it is just kind of different than a lot of it. Yeah, the big news coming out of the Bay Area is the Trumer Brewery in Berkeley is closing its doors, and like you said, Firestone Walker has announced they're acquiring the U.S. rights to the Trumer brand from Gambrinus, and they will take over the production of that. So the brewery was owned by Gambrinus Company, and it's not part of the deal. There's a little bit of talk about what's going to happen to the people working there. I think there's going to be some effort to take some of them over to, over to Firestone Walker, but I don't know. We don't have any details about that. But yeah, a lot of people think of Trumer Pils as being like a California staple beer, but it actually belongs, or the recipe does, to Trumer Private Brewery in Austria. And it's been around since 1601. So this is an Austrian beer has been brewed in the U.S. So the secret to Trumer's success is they didn't just ship bottles across the ocean like everybody else. Instead, the founders of Gambrinus imported the ingredients and made the beer here, which wasn't common back in 2004 when they started doing this. It's a little bit more common these days. A lot more, Guinness has their brewery here, and a lot of other major international players have started brewing it here for distribution. Anyway, this means that the production is moving from the current Bay Area facility to Firestone Walker's main facility, where brewmaster Matt Brynildson will oversee the brewing transition. He's been a big fan of the beer for years and is committed to preserving the flavor balance and drinkability of the beer as it has always defined it. And preserving is a key word here. There will be no attempt to evolve or reinterpret the beer or make it more suitable to Gen Z or anybody else. It is what it is, and he's going to produce it the way it's been produced. The family that currently owns the original Austrian brewery has given their blessing to the passing of the torch here. And for the fans of Trumer Pils, you don't need to worry about the shelves going empty. They're planning the transition to ensure that the beer stays in stock throughout the move. So there should be no interruption in your supply. You should be able to get your Trumer Pils anywhere you got it before. So yeah, hopefully nothing changes. That's really, it's like, this is big news, but they're in the end of things, it should not affect you at all, theoretically.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the beer, hopefully you keep getting the same thing.
Yeah,
that's the intentions there. Brian, the Brewing Association, they have announced their industry award winners for 2026. So some big stuff here. What's going on with the BA?
Yeah. So the awards recognize people who have made a profound and lasting impact on the craft brewing community, from advancing, brewing science and quality of beer to shaping iconic beers to advocating for independent breweries. So first up is Jamie Floyd, the founder of Ninkasi Brewing Company. He won the FX Matt Defense of the Industry Award, which recognizes an individual or company for their contributions and efforts in championing small breweries. Jamie Floyd isn't just a brewer. He's been in the trenches of beer politics for 30 years, including an incredible 23-year stint in the Oregon Brewers Guild board. So a lot of time there doing the good work and basically lobbying on behalf of craft beer the entire time. So next up is Todd Mott, who received the Russell Shearer Award for Innovation in Craft Brewing. Among other accomplishments, he developed Harpoon IPA back in 1993, I'm sorry. And that's the brewery's flagship beer. So a long time ago, during his time at Portsmouth Brewery, he pioneered another thing. His Imperial Stout, Kate the Great, gained national attention in 2007, almost 20 years ago. Yeah, very close. Yep, and it became one of the first beers to inspire large release day lines. So before Kate the Great, people didn't line up for beer. It was just never heard of. So
interesting.
Kind of crazy. Todd Mott is retiring this year after 35 years in craft brewing after passing ownership of his tributary brewing company to his son. I think he and his wife founded that, and they're both stepping back and enjoying the latter years. And finally, we have Tom Shellhammer, Dr. Tom Shellhammer. You got to respect the doctor here. He's receiving the Brewers Association Recognition Award for his work at Oregon State for his contributions to brewing science, education, and industry collaboration. Dr. Shellhammer has spent over 20 years researching hop chemistry, beer flavor, and beer quality, all very important things. And he's mentored countless brewers, and he's probably impacted beers that you've had yourself. He's widely known for translating complex scientific concepts into practical knowledge for industry application. So distilling very complicated topics to things that the people like us who just make and drink beer, we can get it. Yeah, just stuff for us. So that's powerful stuff, you know. Yeah.
Turn it into something the peasants can understand.
Exactly
that's always
right.
a powerful tool. That's we've had some people actually that FX Matt Defense of the Industry Award. Nancy Palmer, our guild director, years ago, won that award from them because she really fought a lot and helped to change a lot of the laws here in Georgia for Georgia's brewers. So, some good stuff with that.
She did incredible work. Yeah,
she did. She was feisty, man. She was feisty for sure. So, and of course, Stan Hieronymus spent some time in Atlanta. He's moved on, but he does much like Dr. Shellhammer there, and kind of takes some complex info and puts it out for us commoners to kind of understand.
I was kind of thinking that when I was reading that, his name came to mind. I'm like,
yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see Stan get this at some point in time. Sooner or later, it's probably going to.
Maybe, you know what? I haven't looked back. Maybe he has. I don't know if Stan's gotten an award from them or not. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. I was thinking about this more of kind of like end of career type of stuff, and his career is not over. He's very active still. So who knows? I don't know.
And Nancy definitely was an end of career when she got her FX Man award there. So. All right, Brian, before we move on, man, how about we give a shout out to our friends at Truck and Tap?
That sounds like a great idea. I'm going to do a little something different this week for the first time ever, I think. All of my beer picks for the week will be beers I've had in the last week. And in fact, one of them I had at Truck and Tap just a week ago. And I'm not even talking about the coffee cake break from Six Bridges that I also had at Truck and Tap because I recommended that last week. So it's beyond that. But if you're lucky and you like that idea of the coffee cake break that I've talked about last week, you might still find it at Truck and Tap. It might still be at a few of them. So let's get into those Truck and Tap beer picks of the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Round Trip's Giza on the side pull tap. Giza is a dry hop New Zealand style Pilsner with Motueka hops. It's crisp, refreshing, and delightful off the side pull. And that's the one I had last week, in fact. So that's good. If it's still there when you get there, because you never know with these things, I recommend you get it. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Edmund's Oast Cordial Offering, all the chocolate. This was one of my beers of the week last week, and I can vouch for the name. It does taste like it was made with all the chocolate, like all of it. So, but vanilla does play a nice supporting role here, so it's worth getting. And at Truck and Tap Alfreda, my pick is Evil Twins Even More Jesus, which is a thick, fudgy stout with notes of chocolate, obviously, coffee, dark fruit, muscovado sugar, and despite it being a 12%er, I did do a little experimentation with it involving half a shot of Rittenhouse Rye just to see how it worked, and the combination works well, and it's very dangerous. I don't necessarily recommend you try that. The beer is great, though. You don't need a shot to go with it. Just enjoy the beer. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Creature Comforts double dry hopped Cosmic Debris. It's the return of their popular 11th anniversary double IPA. I think I've mentioned it before. You get big citrus, melon, pine, and starfruit flavors from it. I don't have any fun stories about what I did with this one. It's just good timing. I happened to pick up a 4-pack of it, last weekend, and I've been sipping on cans of it occasionally ever since. So there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and have a beer or two. And as always, if you'd like to see a full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. You never know what great new beers might go on and which ones might just disappear between now and then. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, trivia, karaoke, seasonal festivals, that kind of thing, you could also find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com. So check it out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We always appreciate you. Brian, we do a really good job at keeping up with kind of weird and cheesy stuff in beer, the things that brewers come out, and Heineken has helped us in our pursuit of craziness. Now, they didn't do anything wild like putting a lemon on the top of a beer can. They didn't.
Nothing that extreme.
They didn't do anything like that, but they have introduced, quote, the clinker, and this is for beer drinkers at music festivals. What is that all about?
Yeah, so let me start out with a question. Have you ever been at a music festival and you shared a quick cheers with your beer with a friendly stranger and then they're gone forever? Just two ships passing the night type of thing. Well, Heineken has come up with a beer gadget that can make that moment more awkward, intrusive, and possibly longer lasting. And I'm kidding a little bit here, but not too much. But I'm talking, of course, about the piece of wearable tech that Tim referenced, called the Clinker. And by wearable, I mean it's a smart band that fits around your beer can or your beer glass. And so your beer actually wears it. You don't. I guess you could, but I don't think you're supposed to. So here's how it works. You clink your cans together or your glasses together or whatever. The band syncs your streaming data. If you both listen to the same kind of stuff, like music or whatever, a compatibility light will flash and let you know that the two of you have a match. If the light flashes, there's a web-based app that lets you instantly swap social media info. And apparently it also automatically creates a shared playlist for both of you. So I guess that's something for you to listen to while you're, I don't know, interacting later. The idea being that if you have similar musical instruments or interests or instruments, whichever, you might be interested in talking about these musical interests later on social media. Like some people that are very into bands want to talk endlessly about their bands, and this is a good way for them to meet somebody who wants to talk endlessly about the same band. So Heineken plans to launch the Clinker at Coachella, which is happening this weekend. So when you're hearing this, it's now and next weekend. And if you're going or if you're already there while you're listening to this, you'll have to head over to the Heineken house if you want to get one. Apparently, they're kind of limited at this event, so you want to hustle over there and get yourself one, assuming it's popular. I have no idea if it will be, but apparently this isn't only meant to be a gimmick for Coachella. That it's part of Heineken's Fans Have More Friends platform, which they started earlier this year. It's intended to make it less awkward to start a conversation with somebody you don't know, and that apparently is a problem for people these days. So, which implies we're going to see the Clinker again at some point in the future. The rumors have it that we're going to see it like Formula One events and UEFA soccer events, that sort of thing, games and whatnot. So, I don't know. What do you guys? Did you guys hear about this beforehand? And what do you think about it? Is this weird? Is this?
I don't like it. I'm opposed. I don't care for it because this means, judging by everything they're saying, this means it's getting a lot of your data, sharing a lot of your data, and potentially sharing it with other people. Which, no, pass. That's if I run into anybody at a festival that I don't have enough time to do anything with them but clink glasses, then I don't need to. We don't have any need to continue our conversation after that festival. So
how are you going to find your next stalker and or serial killer though? Tim?
Yeah. That's why they should just market it as that. Are you looking to be stalked there? So you're like, actually, yeah. Well, great. We've got great news for you here. So yeah, I am anti clinker personally.
The premise here is that I clink my glass with a random stranger at a beer festival and I'm left wanting more. I'm going to tell you right now, full stop. I'm never left wanting more after clinking my glass with a random stranger anywhere, even at a brewery. I'm not like, oh my God, do they listen to the same kind of music I do?
And what about these people just running around clinking me without my consent?
Oh yeah.
I'm just taking a sip and someone clinks me.
Yeah, they clink your beer into your face.
I'm more against this the more I talk about it, Brian.
Mm-hmm. But Tim, you get the custom playlist out of it. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
No.
Tim already hates our custom playlists from the studio, Brian. Do you think he really think he wants AI to automatically generate?
I'll share the quick backstory on that. My account was signed up when we had our studio. My account was signed in to the studio, to the Spotify at the studio. And when we all hung out there, to be honest, normally I would pick the music, I'd talk, but we got something we all liked. And Brian and Nate definitely share musical tastes that I do not share. So when I'd leave, they'd normally stay there drinking. Well, they'd start listening to their stuff. And it ended up customizing what was being recommended to the worst music known to man, basically. So, and to the point where at the end of the year, when I got my Spotify Wrapped thing, it's like Zulu Bantega is in your top 3. I'm like, who is Zulu Bantega? Like, I've literally never heard of this person. So yeah. And Nate, thank you for telling me that, because now I'm even less interested in the clinker due to the horrors that I've already faced with Spotify
Nate
players.
Has some really unusual and eclectic tastes, and I think he was trying to impress and or surprise me almost all the time. So we'd be hanging out. It's like, hey, have you heard this weird thing? It sounds crazy. So like, no, I haven't. Like, oh wow, all right, I'll never listen to that again.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Nate.
Think my glass of the next beer festival, and I'll hand you a cassette tape of my hottest playlist tips.
Nate pulling out reel-to-reels and stuff for you. Here's a vinyl. Clink, clink. So yeah, you know what? We may not be the right generation for this since we were born in the late 1900s. So, perhaps they have their demographic that may be okay with this.
I'm trying to figure out, is this a millennial play, or would this have been like I
don't know, man,
pre-Gen X, like hippie era type of thing? Like, would they have loved this? I don't know who this is into. I'm not sure if it appeals to Gen Z at all, but maybe this is for them. Maybe this is something they're like, oh yeah, we're totally into that. I have no idea.
Yeah. So that's Beer Koi Nation. I think he's with us. He says he's never clinked, he's never tendered. So, it's exactly,
probably,
man. Exactly.
That's probably safe. I'm like, that's how you live your life right there.
That's the best way to do it. All right, man. Well, tariffs. Things are wild in the world these days. I really don't know what the heck's going on. And it's actually been a while since we've talked about tariffs as it relate to our beer drinking, but the tariffs on aluminum have been, quote, restructured. So, Brian, what's going on there?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. We haven't talked about it in a while, and I saw a lot of articles about how this has been restructured for aluminum tariffs. So the overall changes, as far as I've read, aren't going to do a lot to lower the price of our beer. For breweries buying finished aluminum cans, they're still looking at a steep 50% tariff rate for those cans. There is a small silver lining to this. The tariff on aluminum lids is actually dropping to 25%, which is interesting. But the article I read on the Brewers Association said, don't get excited yet. Those savings might get eaten up by other costs. And I've seen references elsewhere about how some of this restructuring involves basing the tariffs on the final value of the finished good versus the amount of the weight of the metal in it. So in some cases, it may actually be kind of a stealth price increase. It's very weird. Yeah. I don't know. I can't confirm that exactly, but from what I've read so far, I don't think we can expect a change in the cost of kegs or tanks or really aluminum cans or brew houses, in the future. But there is a win for imported beer. So there is actually a real win here under the new scheme. Imported beer is now exempt. So those companies don't have to pay tariffs anymore on the aluminum in the cans when they're imported. So imported beers, hey,
okay, they
have a clear path to enter. I guess that's cool. The Brewers Association also mentions one of the other positive thing about this tariff change. The administration seems to be listening, is what they say. These updates were made in response to industry feedback, so it's possible that continued industry feedback and pressure will move things in a favorable direction for craft beer. That sounds optimistic, but they are a lobbying organization, so I feel like they got to say really nice things to help, keep things moving. So I don't know how actually positive this is, but hey, imports, they're cheaper, I think, now than they were.
That's interesting. You can get an imported beer in a can. Yes. It's not subject to tariffs, but if an American brewer wants to can their beer in aluminum cans that they got outside of the country, they will pay tariffs to get those.
That tells you who they're
to get that aluminum.
Yeah, doesn't that tell you who they're listening to, though? I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think about it. Well, I don't understand that. I'm not sure why that would be, and I have to assume there's something else going on there that I'm just not aware of. To where they're getting, they're getting some money, or maybe it's just crazy, which is also not unlikely there.
I think imported beer in aluminum cans, the people who do that have a lot of influence, and I think that their influence is being shown right now. So this is likely stuff that was getting tariffed coming from south of the border. Your I don't know, Tecates and things like that. My guess, I don't know all the brands. I don't off the top of my head, but I suspect that they had a big push in this and they've had some payoff for it. So I don't know. I maybe we can get all the gooses to be thrown in aluminum cans and we can, sidestep any tariffs. I have no idea.
Yeah. But, who knows? Interesting. All right. Well, Brian, this is kind of a late breaking story for us here that we heard this, but Eagle Rock Distributing, who has locations in various places, Georgia is one of their outposts for Eagle Rock Brewing. But we did hear today that Eagle Rock Distributing, not Eagle Rock Brewing, Eagle Rock Distributing, their Colorado location has been purchased and will be shut down. And there's conflicting news reports. One report says all employees of the Colorado divisions will be laid off permanently. But then the company that purchased them came back and said that's not true, that they're working on things. So, Brian, what do we know right now on this?
So what we know for sure is that apparently there was a worker adjustment and retraining notification, aka WARN. We've talked about it before. WARN Act notice that said that all 514 Eagle Rock Distributing employees in Colorado will be permanently laid off effective June 5th. This follows the sale of the wholesaler to Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits, as well as a planned shutdown of operations in Colorado as a result of the sale of the assets there. So interesting, like you said, according to the statement that Brewbound got from Southern Glazers, they dispute this news. They say that they intend to retain the employees and continue operations, and they're an Anheuser-Busch independent distribution organization previously, so they plan to continue doing that, and they are working with Eagle Rock leadership to ensure a smooth transition, is what they say. So it's unclear what actually happened here, but it's great for drama. I'm like, who put out that WARN Act? Who said that everybody was getting fired? Because it sounds like everybody they're talking to right now is saying, no, that's not true, but that's kind of an official notice, like a mandatory, federal notice. So anyway, Eagle Rock continues to operate its core business here in Georgia. So whatever ends up happening to this change of ownership in Colorado, it's not going to affect anything going on here in Georgia. But it's very interesting that somebody has put out this WARN Act, and then everybody's saying, no, that's not the case. Did they do that and face a lot of bad press and have to reverse themselves, or did somebody with
now they are not the ones reversing it. I do want to state that. So the people that are saying that they got to put out the WARN Act notice is Eagle Rock Distributing, the people that own the company now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the company that said no, that's not the case, made a statement that basically said, hey, we're going to work with these people to try and have a smooth transition and keep everybody going. So you've got Eagle Rock that owns it now, or whatever the family is that owns it now, that put out this WARN notice. And then the company that is purchasing them is saying, no, that's not right. So we've got the before and the after telling two different stories here right now.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. They had to, because they didn't know when they sold it. They knew, we're not doing anything with this facility or these people. We have to put this in legally. And and so Southern Glazers,
like that would be a discussion that you would have with the company. But and I don't know, maybe it's just because maybe it was a safeguard. They're like, look, we're shutting down operations, so technically whatever this other entity does with them is something different, because I don't know the rules, but maybe they did that maybe that was a CYA thing, because maybe they will be laid off with whatever company Eagle Rock so-and-so is, but they'll be picked up by this other one. So it sounds like at minimum we've got some really bad communication between people here.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely the case. Oh, I'm glad. I really couldn't understand how this was happening. Like, does somebody have somebody bitter about the whole relationship and is falsifying some information? But that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
bad communication. So maybe it's just bad communication.
Bad communication there. Sounds like it. But we wish them the best. We hope that the people saying they're going to do the best to keep everybody working, we hope that their news is the factual news there, and that everybody keeps on keeping on.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, guys, a fairly quick show this week. Again, this is our 500th episode, so we want to thank everyone that has hung out with us during this time. 10 years, man. 10 years. 2016, January 2016 was the first time that Beer Guys Radio went on the air. And, we talked Georgia beer at the time. That was it. We were Georgia radio for Georgia beer, one little radio station here in Atlanta. And, we've seen we have risen and fallen much the way the craft beer industry has, you know.
True.
7 years ago was our peak. You know, that was busy. We were going to festivals all over the country and visiting with brewers everywhere and such. So it's just, we're kind of riding the ebb and the flow of the industry here and then doing what we can. But through it all, we know a lot of you have been with us, you know, pretty much since day one. We really appreciate that. We thank you for hanging out with us. Obviously, our Patreon supporters, you know, the folks who give just a little bit more so they can, you know, get the frontline access and chat with us. We really appreciate that, y'all. It's not, it used to be expensive to do the show. When we were on the radio, we had studio and all that. That was expensive, but you know, it doesn't cost a ton to put a podcast out, but there are expenses there. So we appreciate, you know, any help with that. But the most we like is, you know, share the show with a friend, tell them to listen. You know, we always want more listeners here. And yeah, let's see what the future holds with things. So, but with all that said, we do hope that you have a really, really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.